Hello and welcome back to the Odd Shopper YouTube channel. I'm Isaiah. I'm here to break down this weekend's action in Daytona. So last week went pretty well for us. We hit on Chevrolet to win the race at minus 115, and we also hit on Austin Cindric to finish ahead of Chase Briscoe at minus 140. Those aren't great odds. We didn't make a ton of money, but a win is a win. And I'm looking to build that momentum or roll that momentum forward into this week with our picks for Daytona. We have a lot to talk about. We got a race preview. We have a new sponsor, Caesars. We have a bunch of outrights to talk about, and we have some props. So let's get into it, starting with the race preview. This is the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona International Speedway, which is a 2-mile super speedway track. Now, super speedways mean that you can expect drafting. So Talladega, Atlanta. Number one, we have data points from those tracks. And number two, these races can get kind of chaotic. So you should always expect the unexpected with these things. However, a couple of very obvious trends have emerged at this point in the year. Number one is that Fords are fast when it comes to drafting tracks. We've had 4 super speedway races so far, and Fords have led 68.9% of the laps. They've only won one of the event, but they've had some really bad luck that we're going to be talking about in a second. And it's not just one Ford team that's looked good. It's been both Team Penske and RFK Racing. Stuart Haas did all right, too. I think Eric Almirola led the most laps at the summer Atlanta race, if I remember correctly. But it's primarily been our Team Penske and RFK Racing Blue Ovals. Definitely not biased, as you can see by my decorations. But I sincerely think that there's going to be some value on Ford this weekend, and we're going to be targeting them as a result. The second main data point that we've noticed from these super speedway tracks is, again, to expect the unexpected. I mean, the fastest cars and best cars haven't really won these events so far, so that kind of goes against what I said about Ford. But at some level, right, given all the amount of random chance and luck that we've seen so far, I think that we have to regress to the mean. And to me, the mean is, well, if one manufacturer is leading 68.9% of the race, then they're probably going to win. Just my thought there. So the other note that I have here for the race preview is that this race is on Saturday night. And it's in South Florida. It's not in South Florida, but it's in Florida. So that means the weather can be kind of iffy. However, the forecast looks clear. So that's good. This one should probably get in on Saturday as opposed to last year's event, which ran on Sunday and saw one of the dumbest crashes in NASCAR history when it started raining in the middle of the race and everyone wrecked, which was tough for my bets. But you know what? Shit happens. All right, let me pull up the odds board over at Caesars, and let's get right into it. So we're actually not going to touch any drivers. As you've probably noticed the last couple of weeks, we've been sticking primarily to manufacturer markets, and we're going to do so again this week. You'll see Ford at plus 140 over at Caesars. You can find the plus 155, which equates to, I think, 39.2% over at DraftKings. That's going to be our play of the week. I love this up to like 0.75 units, 3/4 of a unit. I'm a big fan of this play. So I already gave you one number, which was the 39.2%. I gave you another number, which is the fact that Ford has led 68.9% of the laps. Here's another number. Ford's compose 35.2% of the field. That's pretty meaningful. Another number. They led 57.5% of the laps in the Daytona 500. So the implied odds of 39.2 aren't great, in my opinion, because you have almost that percentage of the field leading a far larger share of the laps. I think almost double, a little under double. So yeah, that's value to me. That's edge. Now, of course, they are 1 for 4 on actually winning these super speedway races, which is concerning, but it's much less concerning once you look at actually what happened. So Daytona 500, Brad Keselowski, Ford driver, led the most laps, but crashed. A Ford still finished in second. Atlanta Spring Race, Ford's basically led the entire race. It was Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski back and forth. Joey Logano won. Talladega, multiple Fords spun from the lead, including both Harrison Burton and Ryan Blaney, who was leading on the last lap, which was tough. But he still brought the car home in second. Blue Ovals finished, I think, Chevrolet Kyle Busch won the race, and then Blue Ovals took up P2, P3, P4, P5. So that's just bad luck. They led so much of the race, just couldn't put the finish together. Atlanta Summer. So Ford's dominated the entire race. Rain caused drivers to get an advantage from alternative strategies late in the race. I think Fords were expecting, they already had the track position they were leading. They were expecting the rain to get there earlier. It didn't. That let drivers get contrarian, shifted the whole leaderboard around. Chevrolet drivers got out front. Brad Keselowski had the fastest car of the night. He just couldn't catch back up. I think he finished P7. That was really unfortunate for him. Ford still led 78.3% of the laps in that race. So Fords are fast, and that's the most recent super speedway race we've seen so far. So Fords are fast now, and they're fast in the summer and at night, which are the exact conditions we're dealing with at Daytona. So I am pretty high on Ford here, obviously. And we can even break down some of the other outright odds. So you're buying Ford at plus 155, that's 39.2%. Look at the outright odds. Ryan Blaney, 7.7%. Joey Logano, 7.7%. Brad Keselowski, again, 7.7%. Chris Buescher, 5.9. Cindric, 4.4. Eric Almirola, 4.4. Then you've got long shots like McDowell, Ryan Preece, and Chase Briscoe all around 3%. That's getting us to more than 50% already. Hold isn't as bad for the outright markets at the top this week. Usually you'll see a favorite listed around like plus 450, 500, 700 at the worst case. But instead of that, the books are just stacking the implied odds on the cars in the back of the field because they don't want some crazy long shot to win the race, and then they have to pay everyone $1,000 who bet a buck. So the hold is a little bit different this week. I'm still not using that to justify shifting back to focusing on outrights. I still want most of my exposure on the manufacturer markets. I think they are far better. All right. Now let me talk a little bit about our sponsor this week, which is Caesars. So Caesars has put together a fantastic promotion before the NFL season. I'm a huge fan of it. If you don't have Caesars Sportsbook already, you absolutely must click the link in the description and sign up. If you bet $50, you get $250 in bonus bets paid out in $50 increments each week of the NFL season. That's a fantastic deal. You place one $50 bet, maybe on one of these NASCAR plays, maybe not. And then you get $50 to work with for the first 5 weeks or whenever you take advantage of this promotion during the NFL season. That's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of that deal. I strongly recommend that you have it, that you sign up for it. I signed up for Caesars when they were doing the jersey promotions. Those were fun, but this one's probably better. I mean, if you hit all of those bets, you can buy way more jerseys than the one that I got from them for basically free. Cool. Now, time to go back to the actual odds board real quick because we're going to talk about the singular outright that I've placed. And it's kind of, this is the matchups market. It's kind of like a ladder bet because we're betting on a Ford driver to win the race. We're betting on Austin Cindric, who is all the way down here at 22-1. He's at 25-1 now at DraftKings. So I think that's obviously the better price. You should play it there. That's roughly 3.9%. That's a misprice. Why is that a misprice? Well, Austin Cindric has actually won at Daytona before, not just in the Xfinity Series, but also in the Cup Series. He won the 2021 Xfinity Series race in dramatic fashion, and then went on to win his first Daytona 500 and the number 2 Ford. Quite impressive. Fords have been bad fast at super speedways ever since the next gen era started, so he's obviously getting an advantage for that. Further, no Ford driver really needs a win more than Cindric does right now, as long as you're not considering the Stewart-Haas racing cars, who all need wins desperately, other than Kevin Harvick. But he still is winless. So both of his Penske teammates are already locked in the playoffs with wins. Chris Buescher from RFK Racing locked into the playoffs with 2 wins. And Brad Keselowski locked into the playoffs on points. Cindric is more than, he can't make up the point differential mathematically to catch up to Bubba Wallace for the final spot. So he will need to win this race if he wants to keep his season alive. Even Michael McDowell from Ford is in the playoffs. So yeah, would not be a good look for Cindric to miss the playoffs this year in that number 2 Ford for Penske, especially when Penske has been so fast at super speedways and we have 5 of them before the playoffs get underway. Again, Cindric is a winner at Daytona. He got help from his teammates in each of those wins. So I would not be shocked if Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney cut him some slack, at least early in the race. Heck, even Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher may chip in a little bit there. Maybe some SHR cars, but they'll probably be more self-interested than anything else. I really like Cindric at this price. I think all the factors are coming together for Cindric to be a much better, to deserve much shorter odds than the 25-1 you're going to find at DraftKings right now. And let's wrap this up with our top prop of the week, Chris Buescher versus Kyle Busch on the matchup markets. Chris Buescher is the underdog to Kyle Busch, which I think is nuts because, all right, we have Chris Buescher in a Ford, and I just told you all of those things about Ford, and you have Kyle Busch in a Chevrolet. And I haven't talked a lot about Chevrolets. They have won 3 of the races so far, including Talladega, which Kyle Busch won himself, but they aren't doing so in a very convincing way. I mean, I talked about how there was that alternative strategy thing that happened at Atlanta Summer. Yeah, that bailed Chevrolet out. So the other thing to know here is that I'm assuming that Buescher is the dog to Busch because Kyle Busch has finished ahead of Buescher 3 times at super speedways out of the 4 races. So at first glance, yeah, maybe Kyle Busch deserves to be favored. I don't think so. So let's take a look at what happened in those races, right? So Buescher finished a close. So yeah, so let's start with Talladega. Busch got the win at Talladega. Buescher finished 4th. Busch got the lead on the last lap because Bubba Wallace and Ryan Blaney got together. I'm not convinced. Buescher was a better car that race. Second, when it came to Atlanta, Busch was one of the beneficiaries of the alternative strategy. Chris Buescher had led 39 laps, but finished 15th, whereas Kyle Busch led 0 laps and finished 5th. So he got bailed out. He did not have a great car. He did not have a great Sunday or whatever day that race ran because I think it got rained out. But yeah, Chris Buescher was much better the entire weekend. He just got unlucky with the rain. Kyle Busch got lucky with the rain. I think Kyle Busch's luck runs out this weekend. I don't think that he can keep beating out all these Ford cars, especially Chris Buescher, in categorically inferior equipment with less support from teammates. Yeah, so give me Ford. Again, Ford outright, Ford manufacturer, and a Ford on the matchup markets. Not biased, I promise. But I think they're in shape for a great race this weekend. They're going to get that second super speedway win that they have been looking for all season. I'm a big fan. So let me pull this odds board out so I can recap our picks. So number 1, Ford at plus 155 at DraftKings. Number 2, Austin Cindric 25-1 at DraftKings. Actually, yeah, that is still DraftKings. And Buescher versus Busch, Buescher at minus 105 at Caesars, which again, if you haven't signed up for, now is the time to take advantage. You can even honestly throw your $50 bet on that matchup market, and you will almost certainly get your money back and more. All right, that's going to do it for this weekend's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back here next week.